Alright, so if we're looking toward the future, we can see that in May on the 21st, there will be the PDXCon Remix, probably online hosted and everything. And Paradox is supposed to maybe announce a new game. If we look at the announcement trailer for this event, it does seem like a cogwheel at the start, so maybe an hint we're gonna have hopes for Victoria 3. But whether we actually will have an announcement this year or not, I'll let fate decide. I think I can still share some of my ideas I'd like to see being implemented into Victoria 3. One of my favorite thing about Victoria 2 is actually with the economic system. The concept of the world market is very attracting when you're talking about a type of world conquest game, but I wish there was more control on how you could pull maybe embargoes where you and your allies will isolate yourself from the world market against your main competition. If there was the possibility to have more manipulation, maybe with stockpiles of stuff that exist around your countries that you have to trade with other nations, I think will add a required depth at the economic level. And the whole idea of factories creating a lot of content. If you can starve a nation of ammunition and cannons during a war, it is just as powerful as crushing them on the battlefield. So definitely a more refined economic system I think will be a great addition for Victoria 3. And this ties into my second point. I wish the game would be more centered around sphere of influence as critical piece of the actual empire. While you'd still be allowed to play a lesser nation that is part of a greater sphere, if you're leading the sphere, I'd like it to feel like everyone in your sphere is kind of very closely linked with you, trading almost exclusively with you, and also participating into war with you against your enemy nation. It will still be AI managed and not directly over vassal, but while they still work for their own best interests, they're still sharing a common interest with the sphere leader. Population is another feature from Victoria 2 that I hope we can see come back into Victoria 3. I think it could be simplified in a lot of aspects because as far as I know, Victoria 2 is the only game in existence that does simulate every single human being on the earth at that time the game is going on. Of course, only as long as you only consider human male for total population. But the idea is still great, I feel like, because it has a direct impact on how your factories will be working, how many workers you can have in a state, affecting how many you can levy from your population. And when these soldiers get into battle and die, they have an actual impact on your economy and reducing your population, which is just an incredible take onto everything. The spectrum of the game being only about 100 years, if you do lose a generation of soldiers, it has to have a massive impact on your economy and your country in general. And it can be the end of your sphere of influence, losing one bad war at the end of the game. There needs to be these kind of reversement into the game that are implemented, and this will come in and bound well with the politics and party system such as what we have in Victoria 2. I do like the way it is implemented in Victoria 2. I'm sure there will be some refinement to be pulling it around, but just having the power of a party dictating a certain fashion of how the country will be running, a little bit like the AI in Europa Universalis 4.4, depending on the monarch that is reigning if he has specific personality trait. Well, these can be implemented into the parties, so different country with different type of parties will be able to have different aims and different goals to achieve. The sphere of influence could also be integrated into the political and party system, being able to manipulate the reforms of a country. If it is not into your sphere but in an enemy sphere, maybe destabilize the political system and finance rebellions and give weapons from your stockpiles. As well as that, I also would like to see a more developed Africa and India subcontinent on the map. And there will also, I think, best be a type of colonization system that is in place that gets in around mid-game, where you can really start establishing relationships with the different countries and integrating them into your sphere of influence by investing maybe a similar type of colonial points or whatever system that could be working well. And now at this point you do see I'm not really a great game designer, so maybe if I do think more about the idea I could refine some of these systems, but this generally englobes well what I would like to see about a Victoria 3. Really all of the attention into the type of sphere of influence that you are part of, mixed with a nice economy and politics system, and a good amount of population management and control, interesting level of fine details incorporated into the mix. Oh, and also I think Victoria 3 with an incredible soundtrack, because Victoria 3 soundtrack is burned into my brain. I can only wish the same will be for Victoria 3's soundtrack. Hopefully you have liked this small video. If you did, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more. And maybe you want some tips for Victoria 2, so I got a video for you, bro. Alright, thanks for watching and see you next time.